Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. And it's Q&A Friday. So we're always happy that you can join us. And if you get a chance, as you get your notifications, just why don't you say hello? I know many of you do, and we appreciate that. And when I see those comments like Andrea and Sandy from Fergus Falls, Minnesota, Andrea from Niagara Falls, we're happy to say hello. Okay, let's see as the scroll moves. There's Brahim, our dear friend from Portland, Oregon. Lucille, how are you? Yvonne from Petawawa. And Judy from New Brunswick, Elaine from St. John's, Newfoundland. Hi, Lisa. How are you? Brahim's having his coffee. Rosalinda from the Kidneys of Canada, Niagara Falls. Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Wendy's on. Paula Joe, how are you? Laurie from Cambridge, good morning to you. Kevin, Oshawa. Bonnie, Little Britain, Madeleine, Kippawa, Quebec, bonjour. And Fran, there she is from Orangeville. How are you, Fran? Maryland, Charlottetown, PEI. Patricia from Florida. Sandy, Chilliwack, British Columbia. And Elaine, Denise, Chantal, Ottawa. Cecilia, Shediac, Nouveau-Brunswick. Diane from Peterborough. Lise, how are you? And Maureen from Boca Raton, Florida. How are you, Maureen? Rita, Francis from Bonn. Good morning. We love you. There's Nick from our staff. How are you, Nick? Cheryl, West Virginia. Kathy. And who was that? I missed. Marla, how are you? Somebody put something about someone died or someone. Let me see that again, guys, if I can. Linda, Gail, Janice, Brampton, how are you? Darlene, Cindy, Saskatchewan. And who died yesterday? Arlene's sister, eh? And Patricia. Wow. Okay, so I just saw it scroll by, guys. Lisa Marie, Dennis, Heather from Miramichi, Catherine from Springdale, Newfoundland, Patricia from Pulaski, Tennessee. Hi, Deb. From Timmins, Karen, Innisfil, Marianne, London, and Bonnie from Annandale, Minnesota. Gary, Bolton, Corina, Tilsonburg, Madge from Newfoundland, Wanda from Virginia. Dan, how are you? Okay, a couple of more and we'll get going. Hi, Yolande. I was waiting on you. Okay. Amber from New Jersey. Lorraine from British Columbia. Guys, what a crew we have. Cheryl, Helga, and Sherry is on with us. Hi, John. Okay. And Carol, Moncton, New Brunswick. We love you. Okay, so Patricia's sister died yesterday from cancer. Sad. Patricia, we're praying for you. Thanks for sharing that. Hi, Susan and Rita. People are praying. This is a good group, isn't it, guys? We certainly appreciate each other. Hi, Denise. Simon from Sturgeon Falls. How are you? Bobby. Kevin's praying, and we're all praying. Thank you. Okay. Cheryl's praying, and hi, Annette, how are you? Okay, let's get to the questions, guys. And was it Sedelia? Andrea's. Yeah, thanks for that. See how the group loves each other here praying, okay, this morning. Hi, Sharon from Kansas this morning, okay? And Patricia saying thank you. Tight-knit group here, okay? We love you guys. And thank you for being there for each other. Okay. Joanne is asking a question about bacon. I love talking about bacon, okay? And she says, Dr. Martin, bacon is a processed meat. So what? Okay? Why do you recommend it? Well, because it's good for you. That's why I recommend it. Bacon has got a bad rap. I always say this, Joanne. Olive oil, good for you? And 9 out of 10 people, no, 99% would say, yeah, it's good for you. Olive oil, for sure, it's good for you. Yeah? Well, what's the oil in olive oil? Oleic acid. What's the oil in bacon? Oleic acid. Olive oil's good for you. Bacon's better. It's got protein. It's got fat. Bacon's good for you. And bacon's got a bad rap. And I can tell you, in terms of nutritional value, take up a slice of bacon and put it up against, you name me the vegetable. Broccoli? Broccoli's good for you. Bacon's better for you. Oh, Dr. Martin, it's processed, meaning they put nitrates on it. What do you think nitrates are? It's celery powder. It's a salt. It's celery salt for preservation. Is that bad for you? I don't think so. So, listen, I heard that when in the 60s, in the 70s. Don't eat bacon and eggs. Have cereal. Where did that come from? The cereal companies. Dr. Kellogg's and his associates. Okay? So I don't buy it, guys. I look at the nutritional value of bacon, and I'd say I'd much rather you have bacon than a granola bar. It's not even close. Because today, especially, we're dealing with metabolic syndrome. 93% of the population have metabolic syndrome. They're on the Titanic. They're on their way to hit an iceberg of cancer, of cardiovascular disease. Bacon don't cause cardiovascular disease. But stinking carbohydrates do. When you got to pour out a boatload of insulin to take sugar out of the bloodstream, well, bacon. And guys, there's good, you know me, good, better, best. If you see they add some sugar to the bacon, right? But you can get completely natural bacon. That's the best. Okay? But I'd rather you have bacon than have a chocolate bar or a granola bar. And nutritionally, it's better than any vegetable you can think of. It's full of protein. And Dr. Martin, it's got saturated fat. Well, don't be saturated stupid. I made that term up. Don't be saturated stupid. Because people vilify saturated fat. When it's a fat, that's good for you. When you see saturated fat on bacon, it's good for you. You see saturated fat on steak, it's good for you. Eat the fat. So that's me. Okay? John's saying pork belly at Costco. Yeah, there's always better. There's always better. But I'm in generalities. I had a radio show for 20 years. I've written, 25, 26 books now? I talk to people that, in a lot of ways, have never even studied nutrition for 5 seconds. And they just buy the lies that are fed to them. That bacon's no good for you. It's full of cholesterol. Well, cholesterol's good for you. And it always, if you looked at the bottom line, it was guys like Dr. Kellogg's who influenced and really started the dietitians. Okay? They didn't want any meat. They didn't want you eating eggs. They didn't want you eating butter. And even today, I can tell you, because I know, because I went through, I took a couple of thousand hours of nutrition. And you had to undo the propaganda. Fat is bad. Bacon is bad. Eggs give you cholesterol. Butter is bad. Margarine is better. And I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I didn't buy it then. And when you understand what's going on, then, all I can tell you, folks, is bacon is good for you. Start your day with bacon. You like bacon? I used to tell my patients this, okay? I diagnosed metabolic syndrome, okay, in my office. Either A1C, low HDL, high triglycerides, belly fat, high levels of uric acid, maybe their blood pressure was up, and their blood sugar, their glucose was up, maybe not to a diabetic level, but elevated. And I used to tell them, okay, we're going to change your life here. What do you have for breakfast? Cereal. Okay, we're going to stop that. No more cereal. What? I said, you like bacon? I love bacon. But my doc, I said, stop. I don't care what your doctor says. Your doctor doesn't know nutrition. They've never studied it. So they're just towing the line. So, you like bacon? I love bacon. Well, then have it every morning. You like sausages? Yeah, I love sausages. Well, have bacon and sausages if you want, and add in as many eggs as you like. Leave the toast aside. Why? Because toast is going to turn into sugar. Well, Dr. Martin, it's whole wheat. I don't care. And stop the orange juice. Why? Because you're on the Titanic. No more orange juice. What? Yeah. So I had to undo that with people. You like bacon? Enjoy it. It don't clog your arteries. It unclogs your arteries. So it was just propaganda, guys. And even today, I know it, they'll still say, processed meat, don't touch it. So stupid. I'm glad you brought it up. Anyway, Joanne got my heart rate going this morning already. I love it. But we really appreciate Caroline. I'd like to know what a normal BP is level according to the doctor. Well, that's changed. The goalposts have changed over the years, okay? And look, you can Google this. So, like me, what's normal, okay? Look, here's me. The top number, okay? I don't care about as much. I'm not saying I don't look at it. Of course I do. I've told you this before. I had patients that would come into my office and they had a book. Okay? You want to read my book, Dr. Martin? No. Because they had their blood pressure 3 times a day for the last 5 years in a book. I said, do you want to read my book, Dr. Martin? No. I'm not going to read your book. Okay? And by the way, I did your blood pressure when you came into my office. Okay? That's the one I'm interested in. And I always take it with a little grain of salt when done in the office because you can have white coat syndrome. Right? You're scared to see me. Look at me. Why would you be scared of this face? I'm a teddy bear. No, but sometimes in the office, doctor's office, your blood pressure. But let me answer the way I want you to understand, okay, Caroline? Look at your bottom number. If it's not over 90, I ain't worried one little iota. Millions and millions and millions of people are put on blood pressure medication when, in my opinion, they have no business being on blood pressure medication. And testimony. Tens of thousands of patients over the years. When we changed their diet, their blood pressure, as a matter of fact, I heard it yesterday from a former patient who said, Doc, I did the reset. I don't need my BP meds anymore. My blood pressure's come back to normal. Yeah, because it's sugar. It's not salt. Okay? Salt never affects your blood pressure unless you're extremely dehydrated. Salt gets retained by the kidneys when you stress the kidneys with sugar. There's nothing that stresses the kidneys like sugar. I never tell people to come off their medication, but if their blood pressure is normal after changing the diet and getting off the sugars, amazing what can happen. And I look at that second number. In the office, I was not interested almost in anything in blood pressure unless I saw your second number go above 90. If it was there, I was more concerned. Okay? So, because it's just an average. And, like I said, you can Google it. It'll say 120 over 80. I got to tell you a funny story, okay? 'Cause there was a guy when I was in school, because we had to go up in front of the class and take a person's blood pressure. They were showing us how to do this. Was in our first year, and they were taking blood pressures, and in the old days with the stethoscope and listening, and okay, so and then we would write down what the blood pressure was, okay? And then the teacher they do the blood pressure and see if we knew what we were talking about. Okay? Anyway, this one guy, he forgot to put the stethoscope in his ears. And then he gets up on the board after he takes the blood pressure, 120 over 80. He didn't even have the stethoscope in his ears. We were just dying in class, dying. He was trying to fool the teacher. Anyway, that was back in the 70s. So, okay. A Kinga, my 14-year-old son, has what looks like gynecomastia. And that is in men where they have increased breast tissue, okay? It only seems to be on one side, and what do I think? Well, look, I mean, I obviously have seen it before. What can you do about it? I don't know if there's anything specifically. You might want to try and dim it out. It's usually too much estrogen. And I don't know if there's any way of fixing it. I know they've done surgery in the past. Like I dim it out, flax seeds. That's what I would do. Okay. Iris. Okay, Iris is asking another question. It's very similar to the blood pressure question. What should glucose readings be prior to breakfast in diabetes during pregnancy? Well, that depends. Number one, they're a diabetic. Right? Are they on meds? And Remember this too. I never like taking glucose in the morning, okay, blood sugar, because it's always going to be elevated. Why? Because cortisol, when you're waking up in the morning, cortisol elevates your blood sugar. It elevates your blood pressure to some extent and blood sugar. It's getting you, it's part of your circadian rhythm. It's waking you up. So I used to tell patients, like, don't give me blood sugar readings when you get out of bed in the morning. I don't want to know that. I'd rather you, after you eat, what is your blood sugar readings? An hour after you eat. Let's see what your insulin is doing. If you're a diabetic, are you on meds? That's important during pregnancy. Okay, are you a type 1 diabetic? Are you a sugar diabetic? Because type 1 is autoimmune, it's different. So I don't want to answer, Iris, only because those numbers really can vary big time. Okay. Corey, what is the best way to raise ferritin levels? Okay. Eat steak. That's the best way. You know what we've seen? Okay, you can have high ferritin. I see that more often. I saw that more often than I used to. Okay. And I always blame that on the liver. And high insulin affects ferritin. Fatty liver affects ferritin. But the vast majority of people, especially women, were very low in ferritin. And the reason is, okay, and oftentimes they were very low in B12. They didn't eat enough red meat. So that's how you get iron, and you need that right iron, the heme iron. Like, heme iron isn't found in the vegetable kingdom. It's just not there. Okay? And when you're as pale as Casper the ghost, your ferritin levels, and they might be normal, but they're low normal. You want them elevated. Now, not extreme, that's the other side. Hemochromatosis, too much iron in the blood, okay? But I like ferritin because when I look at it, I can tell a lot of things with ferritin. I can usually tell you if there's some anemia involved, and even when it's normal, because it's in the low normal range. Because ferritin ranges are from here to eternity. And you might have to get yourself on a liquid iron. This is why I had so many people on Blood Boost and our multi-nutrient with iron. Anyway, thank you. Are the risks, she's asking, sorry, Corey, I didn't even see this. Are the risks of iron infusions worth it? Well, maybe if they're extremely low, you might need an iron infusion. I've seen that. I'm not against that. If it's extremely low and you can't get it up strictly with diet and supplementing, I've seen them get iron infusions. If you need it, you need it, especially with people, with women that, have terrible menses. And I saw it in a lot of young kids, too much estrogen, and they had all sorts of issues. As the Bible says, issues of blood. Okay? Remember Jesus? The woman went and touched the hem of her garment. She would spent all her life savings on trying to stop the bleeding. Okay. That was Corey. Thanks, Corey, for the question. Janice, I've been on the reset for 3 weeks, drinking water with pink salt. Good for you. I developed dry eyes. Well, not from the reset, Janice. Okay, that's a coincidence because I've never heard that before. And dry eyes, Much more common today, dry eyes. Well, look at the devices. Look at me. I'm on my device all the time. Okay? I'm more susceptible to dry eyes with that. Okay? And the way I fix it and the way I prevent it is with high DHA. But the fact is that you were on the reset, that shouldn't, uh, well, if it did cause dry eyes, there's no reason for it. And you would be the first one out of probably over 100,000 people that have done the reset now. Yeah, it's well over 100,000 people have done the reset, the 30-day program. So I think it's just coincidence, Janice. And I would have you on, get on the high DHA with Navital. That'll fix your dry eyes. I've seen it thousands of times. And it really helped. And stay on the reset, Janice. Okay? It's so good for you. You're 3 weeks. You're almost there. Sandra. Concussions. Well, look, Sandra, like she's saying her daughter and son in car accident 2022 still got trouble with concussions. You see the movie Concussion, guys? I always ask people that. I've done podcasts on that. The whole movie was made on a friend of mine. Okay? With Will Smith wasn't a friend of mine, but Mike Webster was. The center for with 4 Super Bowl rings and Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer, exactly my age. And long story how I got to know him. Had him in my house, and I've been in his place in Pittsburgh. But the whole movie was on him getting concussions. Watch the movie, guys. Because people, I don't want to watch that. It's all about football. No, it's not. It's all about concussions and how serious they are. Okay? And how the NFL for years tried to deny concussions. And you know who's worse? The NHL. They still don't like the word concussion, although they have to admit it exists. But CTE, which is brain damage. And that's what that movie is about. Okay? And listen, here is how I got tremendous results in concussions. High DHA. Your brain, and you have to do therapeutic doses. If I had patients that had just been in a car accident, I had them on 6 or 8 capsules of high DHA oil, and it made unbelievable difference. I loved it combined with Navital. Why? Navital crosses the blood-brain barrier. Brain. Regenerate. And I'm telling you, it's very, very helpful. So I don't know what your protocol is, but that's what I would add if they're still having trouble. And by the way, like I said, watch the movie Concussion if you can still get it. Should have won an Academy Award. Will Smith should have won an Academy Award. He plays the pathologist that discovered this CTE and brain injury in My Friend on Autopsy. Okay? That's the connection I have to Concussion, the movie. Okay? It was a close friend of mine. Okay. Anywho, okay. That was Sandra. And Sandra, I don't know if this is another Sandra or 2 Sandras or the same Sandra or I don't know. But another Sandra, I'm going to say, but I don't know this. Can you take cortisol and magnesium before bed with sleep? Well, thousands do. Tens of thousands of people do. Every night. They find they sleep better. They take the cortisol formula with, what have we got in there? 8 ingredients? What a combination it is. It's amazing, you know. I just got to tell you a little bit about cortisol formula. If you look at the progression of the books that I wrote, and Tony Jr. and I have written many of them together, okay? We wrote a book in 2011. Yeah, 2011. On the 100th year anniversary of the Martin Clinic. My grandfather, David Martin, started the Martin Clinic in 1911. I never knew him, although I met him, but I was a baby. He died in 1952, the same year I was born. Okay? 6 months after I was born. Little did he know, I think, when he probably held me in his arms, that someday I was going to be the third generation of Martin Clinic. Okay? Anywho, okay? I wrote a book in 2011, okay, on 2 hormones that want you dead. Serial killers, we called the book. Insulin and cortisol. And the reason I wrote that book is because it was amazing, even back in 2011, how much, and I didn't guess, we tested, the difference in the amount of cortisol, the stress hormone that we were seeing. Look, stress has been around as long as man has been around. Okay? The Bible even says it. Be anxious for nothing. Okay? Stress has been around. You got stress glands. You got 2 organs on top of your kidneys called adrenals. That's what they do. They respond, fight or flight. And what I was seeing in my practice is there was so much fight or flight instead of rest and digest. People were wired like never before. And it was a paradigm shift in my office. It was incredible. Tony Jr. and I were just talking about it all the time. But look at the amount of stress, the amount of cortisol that we're seeing. So, you know, he said, well, we gotta help people lower that. And I knew magnesium is certainly good. But we worked on a formula and we tested it because it had to work. I had someone the other day that's questioning me, for example, on vitamin D. And Dr. Martin, you're overboard on vitamin D. Well, look, I said it when Linus Pauling won his Nobel Prize in medicine for his work on vitamin C. I said, well, he only missed by 1 letter in the alphabet. I've always been a big vitamin D guy. But I found when I got your dehydroxy vitamin D levels to a certain level, they got better. Their immune system got better. Their brain got better. Their heart got better. Inflammation went down. So I said, I wasn't guessing. I tested it. It's like cortisol. I wasn't guessing. I tested it. And people, we live in a different world today. You have environmental stress coming at you 24 hours a day. You can't get away from it. And we have social media and you know, just coming at us 24 hours a day. And, you know, we have relationships and, you know, kids and finances and it's the body was never meant to be secreting cortisol 24 hours a day. I noticed that in my practice. Well, even before that, I talked about it when I wrote a book on chronic fatigue syndrome. I said, well, it's adrenal gland exhaustion. What? And doctors, that Dr. Martin, he's crazier than 2 hoot owls. Because they didn't know anything about chronic fatigue. I said, well, it's new. It's different. It's like an epidemic. And they called it the yuppie flu, and they called it all, they gave it names like Epstein-Barr. And I said, it's not Epstein-Barr. It's not a virus. It's not. It's what's happening. Why was it women? Well, women got hormones until they become hormones. Exhaustion. Adrenals. I talked about it back in the 80s. Leaky gut. What's that? You're crazy, doc. No, I'm not crazy. Well, maybe I am. But I'm right. And so, guys, that's cortisol. I don't know why I said that, because someone was asking, can I take cortisol formula and magnesium together? Yeah, you can, for sure. Thousands of do. But I had to get on it because I just got to talk about it. I want to tell you why I'm so fixated on cortisol. Because cortisol pours gasoline on the fire of inflammation. That's why it's so involved in heart disease, why it's so involved in cancer, why it's so involved even in the autoimmune disease. Cortisol is an accelerant. Okay? An accelerant. It doesn't necessarily cause all the problems, but it pours gasoline on your problems big time inside your body, because it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be secreted 24 hours a day. And one of the biggest things we see, and I mentioned this in 2011, is that about 80% of the population wasn't even getting a good night's sleep. Couldn't sleep anymore. Wired, but tired. Like inside the body. I used to do this with my patients in my office. I go, what? Do this. Okay? I said, that's what's happening inside your body. And it's not calming down. You're tired, but you're wired. You know what I mean by that? And it goes back all the way when I was talking about chronic fatigue syndrome. And it got worse and worse. Here we are in 2026, guys. And I'm telling you, cortisol is worse than ever. And you know where we saw cortisol? Because not that I was in practice monitoring this anymore, but reading all of the post-COVID problems. The research that they did on after the lockdowns and the viruses and whatever, people's cortisol was into another stratosphere. Uptight. It's not good for you over a long period of time. Cortisol will save your life. But you don't want it to be secreted 24/7. It's not good for you. Anyway, thank you for the question. And yes, you can take it before going to sleep. Okay, well, we're going to have, I can guarantee we're doing 2 programs. George, okay, let's do this one and be the last one today. Let me just see if we can get through the rest on Monday. Yeah, I think we can, okay? Yeah, I think we can. We've got some good questions here that I want to talk about too. We'll do that Monday. Okay, so let's do George's. What is he asking? We'll go up there. And what does Dr. Martin recommend to address liver large cysts? Well, George, okay, if you got cysts on your liver, you don't want any growth of those cysts. So, 1, block insulin. Lower your insulin. Insulin makes things grow. It's a growth hormone. Block estrogen. Estrogen makes things grow. It makes a woman, and a man, a woman too. I'm always into blocking extra estrogen because we live in a world of estrogen dominance due to xenoestrogens, all of the environmental estrogens that are everywhere, including plastic, microplastics, and herbicides and pesticides, and you name the sides, they're all over the place. We live in a different world, okay? They spray the crops, they spray food, they spray, and you can't get away from it. You can run, but you can't hide. And those are xenoestrogens, and those mimic estrogen. Your body thinks it's estrogen, and it makes things grow. That's why when any cancer, I always tell people, don't feed it sugar, and you shouldn't even with cysts. You want to empty that liver, George. Eat eggs, meat, and cheese, and lay off the carbs. Do the reset. I would. Okay, the liver. Okay, the liver. Now they could be benign cysts. I understand that. Doesn't matter. Be preventative. Okay, that was George. Okay, now I know where to start next time. I got off on a little diatribe this morning, couldn't help myself. Okay? And guys, remember this, okay? Because you guys are so faithful. We appreciate that. And people have been on with us for years. Some people on this morning even have been with me since even my radio days. And we appreciate it, okay? And podcasting. Remember now, you can download the podcast on your favorite smart device at The Doctor Is In podcast, okay? So just don't be shy. You can do that. And if you don't mind, give us a 5-star review and show us your love, okay? The reviews are great, by the way, but still, we love it. Okay, and tell your friends, okay? Tell your friends about the book. If you're in Canada, you can still get Sun, Steak, and Steel, okay? I think that's the 3rd printing of that book. And Canada and the United States can get Rebuild Your Temple, our newest book, Dr. Martin Sr. and Jr. Okay? We love you guys. Talk to you soon.